Welcome back to Stories from the River. This is Charlie Maloof, your podcast host, and thank you for joining us. I am joined today by a return guest, Caitlin Walsh, the fitness lady. Caitlin, your last episode was so popular, they said we got to bring you back.
Aw, thank you, Charlie. I'm so glad to be here.
Welcome to Stories from the River, a show in which we go behind the scenes at Broad River Retail.
Now, Caitlin, I thought it might be appropriate for us to talk about an event that just took place.
Big event.
A big event.
A big event.
So we just did a thing.
Big thing.
Yeah, and we just ran the Novant Health Charlotte Marathon. We ran the half marathon, and this was my second year to do it. I did it last year, and my fifth half marathon ever. But this was not your fifth half marathon ever.
This was my first, and it was one for the books, that is for sure.
No. So Caitlin, what compelled you to sign up for the half marathon?
So we did the 10K around the Crown a few months ago. Right. Yep, which was very motivating. A few days after that, we had our Elevate series with Davin Salvagno, and after hearing his message, I felt really compelled to kind of dig for what my purpose was. Mm-hmm. Later that day, you had sent an email informing me that you were officially all signed up for the marathon, and I didn't quite have the adequate training time that I needed. However, I felt compelled to really embrace mind over matter.
Okay.
So it was difficult to actually click submit and send and, officially have it all done, but it was a phenomenal feeling after signing up.
Okay. And by the way, we're both wearing these medals that we were told to wear. Wear your medals. So this is it says 13.1. I signed up for the half marathon to be fair.
Yeah.
And Davin came to speak, I think around September 27th, 28th, 29th, thereabouts. And so I told you, hey, I've signed up again. I always try to kind of recruit Manny and you and whoever else wants to join. Scott Rader, he was on our team.
Yep.
Heather's husband, who did a half marathon at the Ann Springs Close Greenway and got a personal record.
Strong.
Shout out to him for this past Saturday. But you said you took a while to click submit, but I don't know. I feel like I got the email back from you like in seconds. I'm signed up. I was like, whoa, wait a second. I was like, I could have given you a referral link or something. So you signed up right away. You didn't think too much about
Didn't think twice.
You got fearless on that.
Yep.
And so what is the longest race you'd ever run prior to a half marathon?
The longest race was a month before when we did the Around the Crown.
So running a 10K, which is 6.2 miles, was your previous
longest race.
Okay. What's the longest you'd ever run continuously without stopping?
Continuously, I ran 8 miles on my 28th birthday. That was my present to myself.
Okay, so that was like a couple years ago.
3 years ago, yep.
So what was your goal to go into this half marathon? So you decided to challenge yourself.
Yep.
You got inspired by Davin's talk.
Yep.
And then I said I was doing it, I guess. So
double inspiration.
Okay. So then what was your goal? You entered it with it. You said you didn't have enough training, but
I didn't. I think it was just get to the finish line to prove to myself I can do this. If you put your mind to it, you can achieve anything you put your mind to.
Okay. Were you willing to just get there with stopping or
I didn't want to walk. I knew it was very probable because like I said, I didn't have the training time. But we were texting, I think it was the night before, and I said to you, I think you're really going to surprise yourself with this one. And I just got this feeling within me. And when I got there that morning, I said, I think you're going to surprise yourself, Caitlin. I said, you'll be shocked. And I think it was 5 or 6 miles in, my legs started getting heavy and I was feeling it. And I just thought of you the whole time. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make Charlie proud. I said, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to make it all the way to the finish without stopping.
And did you?
And I did.
You did.
I did it.
Congratulations. I'm super proud of you and your
Thank you.
accomplishment.
Thank you.
Especially for what was the longest training run you had done?
Before the race, 5 miles.
Oh, gosh. To go from 5 miles and more than double.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our experience. I got to make sure this doesn't bang on the table here. Let's talk about our experience during the race. So one thing I'd warned you about, it's a very hilly course.
Yes.
Matter of fact, it used to be called the Thunder Road Marathon.
Really?
Yeah. And so, I think last year I had done it and there was 640 plus feet of elevation. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
This year I think they slightly tweaked the course. around maybe the Lotta Park area neighborhood. So it was still over 600 feet of elevation.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of elevation.
Especially if you're not training.
Especially if you're not training or not training for hills.
Right.
So one thing I said, the hills they'll take the starch out of you. Okay. And then, last year it was, a couple things were different last year. It was mid-November, which you think might be colder, but we had an unseasonably warm morning last year. And then number two, the daylight savings ends, and so you get into standard time, so you fall back. So it's a little bit lighter outside and warmer at the start, which was not the case this past Saturday. 100%. It was so. What was the experience going into? And the race started at 7:20 a.m.
Yes. So we left the house at 6 a.m. I wanted to get there a little bit early, be prepared. I like to take it all in. When I walked outside, there was frost on the cars, so automatically tensed up a little bit right off the bat. I hate to admit this, but when I got there, I had to have a quick cry. I'm all about feeling your feelings, Charlie. I felt like I kind of needed that. I had, a bunch of emotion
because it was about to be. They're about to. You were like,
it was about to start, and I was freezing still. I was nervous.
You're crying, but what was going through your mind? What compelled you to cry?
Oh, that's a good question. I think failure. I think I was afraid of failure.
You didn't want to let yourself down.
Yeah, I did not want to let myself down. I said, I couldn't even imagine making it to the finish line at that point in time. But then, I don't know, something came over me. I took off my sweater. I had my vest and my compression shirt, and I soldiered up. I was ready.
And your boyfriend, John, was he there to support you?
Yes, he was.
Did he have a sign for you this time?
No sign this time, but he did have a very nice care package at the car for me, which was heaven sent.
So, I can't even remember going to the expo last year to pick up my bib. Yeah. My mind is just, and I think I drove in for it last year, and I hardly remember it. I think I just drove in, ran the race, went home. I don't know that I remember much about it. Although last year they had something where, people could track you and follow you and send you messages.
Yes.
But they were robotic messages, every mile. They didn't have that this year. By the way, I think that thing kind of failed and had people thinking they were going the wrong way. Yeah, it happened to several of us around mile 8 or 9. We're all kind of freaking out. Am I going the marathon route? Wait. So this year, I wanted to do what we did with Around the Crown, which was stay in a hotel uptown.
I love that idea.
So I got Kelly and the boys. We got a hotel room uptown, which made it more convenient to walk to the starting line.
Right.
And so I could wake up early, get my stretching done, get maybe a little bit to eat in my belly.
Did you eat before the race?
Well, not like a normal breakfast.
What did you have?
A couple Jan Bonds, maybe a couple dates.
Okay.
Shout out to Jan Bonds, by the way. Maybe I should put Jamie Jan is a
Get
20.
them to sponsor you.
Well, he's a great guy. He lives in Charlotte. He's like a 23-time triathlon.
Wow.
And he's got these Jan Bonds. I've sent them to my family and friends. I'll get you some.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they're like protein endurance fuel.
Nice.
Well, now we have to put the link in.
Yes, 100%.
In the show notes. Maybe a couple dates, and then maybe my Element pack.
Yep.
And then maybe a energy gel pack or something. Or
so no pre-workout.
What do you mean pre-workout? Food?
Usually I take an Explosion, the powder.
No, Element is a pack that's got I think maybe I ate a banana or something. Okay. So I'm trying to get some potassium and sodium electrolytes in my body beforehand. But it was fairly light. Okay. I can't remember what all I ate. There had to be a couple other small items. And so then, Kelly had asked me the night before, she said, gosh, it's going to be freezing. And I had looked at the weather maybe a day or so before. I was like, no, it's not. It's going to be in the 40s and it'll probably warm up as we go. Well, it was not.
No, it was not.
It was 34. And it was cold.
It was freezing.
So I did have a hat that I pulled, which was a last minute decision when I was packing.
No bandana?
Oh, I had the bandana under the hat. Yes,
yeah.
I did that. I did a compression shirt and then a short sleeve shirt. And then I had some tights, and then so I layered up, and then my shorts. What I left out, and I regretted, I didn't have any running gloves. My hands were pretty numb and frozen during most of the run, in as much as I had a couple energy gel packs, goo packs in my pocket, or in my phone in the other. I could not get them out and grab them and pull apart the lid.
Yeah.
One time I tried to pull them out and they fell to the ground.
Oh no.
So I had to stop and go back and pick them up. And so my hands were just frozen. So that was,
Yeah.
you always learn these things, right? So I stayed in the hotel instead of driving in.
Right.
It made it a little bit easier. We always like to go get some pasta the night before so I can
Carb up.
carb up,
Load,
you know,
yep.
and try to get a little bit earlier dinner.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then try to get a decent night's sleep. But you always got all these butterflies and
jitters.
The adrenaline goes.
Yeah.
But it was cold. It was dark because this was before daylight saving. This was the last day of DST, so before the clocks fell back. So it's like kind of like dark, and there's thousands of people out there.
Yes.
So we walked up. The goal was to leave the hotel room around 6:50. I think we left around 7:03.
Okay.
So we walked
You're on
there.
track.
We were a few minutes before the start, but there's nowhere to get in. It's so overcrowded, and the pacing, there wasn't spread out enough. It was all jumbled up.
Yep.
And so I got in with a little bit slower pace to start. I just got in kind of midway into the crowd. And so my slowest split was the first mile because basically I'm jumbled up with like a slower pace and I'm just playing Frogger. It's super inefficient. I'm trying not to get frustrated, and I'm like just trying to move around, not to bump into people. And then sometimes there's a bunch of people here and you just kind of like got to slow down your pace.
Yep.
So my first mile was maybe 8.5 minute pace. It was a little bit slower.
Very high for you.
Well, yeah, that's 2 years ago it would have been really fast for me. But yes, so it was my slowest pace. But then once the crowd kind of cleared out, I did do better than I did last year.
Did you find that helped you keep you slower in your first mile, or you feel confident now that if you were at the front of the line, you would be able to pace yourself?
Ooh, that's a good question. It does force me. I like to go on a long race like that.
Yeah.
I prefer to start off slower because I think my endurance will last longer.
Yeah.
And I'll at some point through just chewing up miles, I'll get into the runner zone and just be able to kind of maintain it consistently. But if I start off too fast, it's harder for me to maintain that throughout the course of like 13 miles. So I'd like to believe that I was disciplined enough that if there wasn't a crowd that I could have like forced myself to go slower in the beginning, which I did last year.
Yeah.
But having the crowd there, even though it was inefficient, I think it did help me go a little bit slower, which ultimately helped me have a stronger pace throughout. Because once I got going, I could kind of get into my pace and kind of maintain it.
Yeah. And where do you find motivation? So when you're down and you're like, oh man, I'm exhausted, I don't want to go anymore. Where do you drive from?
That's a good question. Well, I think if you're going to, so this is the reason I wanted to talk about this topic was because I think it's applicable to taking on like business challenges or any kind of life challenges.
Absolutely.
So I'll answer this, but then so folks can take this as a metaphor for any kind of challenges that they take on. One of the things, like when you're training for a half marathon or a marathon, and this is why what you accomplish is so impressive. It's really important to have like gotten a lot of like long runs in the books.
Right.
And those training miles, that knowledge of, I've done it before, I can do it, is typically what kicks in. So you can fall back to the memory, the recall, I've done it before. I know I'm going to do it again. I'm not going to give up because I know I can, and then maybe the race kind of adrenaline kind of kicks in and gives you that extra boost. There are, so I think that helped. Although my training up to this one got interrupted I only had like one long training run last month.
That's right.
It was like 9.11 miles, and it like to kill me. It was a tough one. I was really sore for like 3 days. So I didn't have quite the training leading up to this one. However, over the last 3 years, I've had a lot of training, and I think that kind of helps. So where did I get my motivation? Just the consistency of training, I think helps. One thing I've learned is for game day, I got to be super prepared.
Yeah.
And so not to overtrain on the day or two leading up. I'm going to start tapering by Wednesday if the race is on Saturday. So I really start tapering down Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so that I know that my legs will be as fresh as possible come race day. So that's one thing, like just knowing that I've done all that I can do. I like to say the hay is in the barn, right?
That.
So I'm going to run my race. I'm going to have some, and then have an experience of doing a lot of races, just gives you that experience under your belt. For my very first half marathon I ran in October of 2021, it was the Craft Brew half marathon. I didn't want to run a half marathon. I only made the decision like a week before to run it.
Wow.
But I had been running like 5 miles pretty regularly.
Okay.
And then we were doing it so I think having accountability partners. We were doing it with a group in our neighborhood. A bunch of men in the neighborhood said, hey, let's go run this craft beer half marathon. And some were going to do the 5 miles, some were going to do the half marathon. It was up at the university area. It's a little bit flatter of a course, by the way. So, I had signed up for the 5 mile. I was like, I can do that. I was doing 5 mile runs, for a year or so before. I was like, I can do that. And that's all I wanted to push myself.
Right.
It was about a week before. I was like, I think I want to do, I'll do the half. And I had tried to do like an 8, 9 or a 10 mile run.
Right.
A couple times in the couple 2-3 weeks preceding it. So I said, okay, I'll try the half marathon. I think I can do it. I think the last training run I'd done was 10 or 11 miles. I was like, okay, I can squeeze out that last 2 or 3 miles, right? But then it was too late to switch. So I actually ended up running under one of our neighbors who couldn't participate. He said, well, I signed up for the half. You can just use my bib. I was like, okay, great. If you don't want it, I'll take it.
Wow.
So I ran under someone else's name because I couldn't switch. It was too late to switch mine. So I
Right.
only decided a week before. And like, you have to be like, I think other people can help you spur you on, but like trying to be competitive with them doesn't always work as much because it's hard to sustain that over like an endurance run. But I will tell you, I give you all this preamble because around mile 6 or 7 of that particular race, which was my first half marathon, you start getting all these thoughts. And around that point, my dad's cognitive decline had really kind of set in, and the conversations with my dad were not what they used to be. And so, I got emotional during that run.
Wow.
I think around mile 6 or 7, and I may have had sunglasses on, I don't know, but I'm like weeping and I'm thinking about my dad and how his mind is kind of like, slipping or going at that point. And so that just gave me this, that spurred me on for that particular race.
Right.
And then I had trained a lot of hills.
Right.
And so when we come up to like mile 12, which is and people have talked to me about that race. Didn't that last mile kill you? And so it was funny. There was a neighbor of mine, and he and I were kind of oscillating and passing each other throughout the first 12 miles.
Wow.
And then I was ahead of him. And then we get to like mile 12, and I'm like getting kind of tired. Like I'm tired 10, 11, 12. I've never run this far before. He's run some of these distances before. And he was like maybe a runner in high school or college. I'm not sure. And, but then he gets up to me at mile 12, and we're about to take the hill. And just my training kicked in, the competitive nature kicked in, and I just kind of got that separation.
Wow.
And so when I finished that race at mile 13, whatever, I really felt like I had another mile or two in me. I was like,
wow.
Yeah, I thought I could have gone. Now,
you dug real deep on that one, Charlie.
Yeah, I don't often think that. So that was my first one. That's where I got that motivation. Other times, I'll tell you this past one, and this is a long-winded answer. I was motivated to finish.
I second that.
My hands were so cold. So I got really focused miles 2 through 11, and I wanted to feel my hands again. And I was thinking about getting to that warm shower. I was thinking about that brunch. I was thinking about the cheat meals the rest of the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
So my motivation was, I want to be done with this. Typically on these, like the Charlotte Marathon, there's so many people cheering you on.
Yes.
You mentioned Davin, he talks about balcony people, and I love that phrase. And there's so many signs. And typically on these races, I like to encourage others. I'm fist bumping people.
Me too, yes.
And I'm saying, and I'm smiling at all the signs. I'm laughing, or they say, touch this to power up.
Power up.
Yeah. Or they say, this seemed like a great idea 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Stuff to, just funny signs, right? I was so focused. I wasn't in the mood to like smile or laugh at too many people. I think I cracked one or two. Last year, it's funny on this particular race, because I'd gone a little bit slower for the first 11 miles. My fastest 2 splits were the last 2 miles. And I got into this chariots of fire sprint to the finish with another guy. And if you look at the pictures, like we got a photo finish at the very end. It was, and I almost wanted to vomit. This time though, I ran a smarter race. I shaved 3 minutes off my race time last year, but there wasn't a sprint really to the finish.
Right.
I was steadier and more consistent. Yeah. But what motivated me, like at the very end, I saw Kelly cheering, and I saw Luke and Drew, and Luke handing out his hand. And so that just kind of warmed my heart. And so thinking about my family, thinking about, people I love in my life, or thinking about things that I'm grateful for, or experiences that I've had. That's where I drive some of that motivation, and I know you listen to Goggins, and
Yes, I
And so
did.
where do you get your motivation from?
So I think positivity. I was same thing. I think it was mile 6. I was hurting, and there was this one kid, and he had a David Goggins sign, and it says, "Who's gonna carry the boats?" And I just remember feeling so overwhelmingly excited and more motivated. I have no idea where this energy came from, and I just started clapping and screaming. And I said, "Who's gonna carry the boats?" And I just saw everybody look at me. And it was kind of like, I was like, oh, wow, this is embarrassing. But so many people, I mean, there was about 6 or 7 of us that just started pushing forward.
That's awesome.
It was so motivating. And then there was, I think, mile 12 was that one big hill.
There was a couple hills.
It was a lot of hills. But that one was rough. And I had a woman who was running alongside me, and she just looked at me and she said, "Is this your first marathon?" And I said,
While y'all are running?
"Can you tell?" Yeah. And she goes, "No," but she's like, "You're doing fantastic. I've kind of been in pace with you the whole time." She said, "I just want to let you know, my first half marathon, I was 17 weeks pregnant."
Oh, God.
And I was like, you know what? I'm never going to complain about this marathon ever again. This woman did it 17 weeks pregnant in the freezing cold. And I just said, I was like, that was the push I needed.
Yeah.
And it was, so the power of positivity goes really far.
Yeah. And I also think, like, when people come alongside you and they pace with you, or they support you, it can be such a great motivator.
Yeah.
Or to encourage you. And so, I mean, I love encouraging other people in those things. But those memories you have, like the Goggins memory and that lady coming up.
Yeah.
Like that's the high. Like,
that's why we do it.
Yeah. I mean, in the accomplishment to say, I did a half marathon.
I still can't believe I can actually say that out loud.
Yeah. Now, you were texting me like, I can barely walk. I literally can't walk.
Today's the first day I can actually walk.
And you were like, I'm going to retire. So now we're like, we're recording this on Tuesday. That was so Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So 3 days ago.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling now?
I feel fantastic. I had some time. I bought my race pictures last night. And it's funny, I posted it and I said, I thought my racing career retired here, but the more I reflect, I feel like I only just cracked the surface.
Oh, wow.
So excited.
So, I'm wearing my running shoes, by the way. They probably can't see them on camera, so I wanted to wear my Hokas. You got to have all the gear, the equipment, all the playlist.
Yeah.
I talked to a guy. The guy actually sprinted to the finish at the Chariots of Fire last year. He ran the full marathon this year.
Wow.
So we were messaging each other, and he said, mile 18, his headphones went out. So that's what,
it's my biggest fear.
Yeah, if you're on a 3 or 4 hour race, you got to think about it. Like, maybe I got to pack a second pair of headphones. I
didn't even think of that. Yeah.
So it's funny because the New York City Marathon was this past Sunday.
Yes.
And I have 2 friends who I know who ran it. One ran it at like under 2:50, 2 hours. It was his 10th New York City Marathon. And the other guy is trying to complete a marathon in every state. And he's like halfway through the states.
Love that.
So they both did great in the New York City Marathon and got new PRs. And so, this was, maybe tied for my last PR. Maybe there's 1 second difference, which is kind of crazy. You run 13.1 miles and less than a second separates the results. But, some marathons are 13 miles, some are 13.2, some are 13.25, and they all got these nuances. You get credit for 13.1, regardless of whether it's...
I'll take that 0.1. That was a hard last 0.1.
That was.
I couldn't even give it my all. I had to...
Well, my tracker said it was 13.2. So I think...
Did it? I think mine did too, actually, my watch.
Yeah, so I think we ran a little bit further.
Yes.
And that'll get you, especially when you're coming around 13 and like, I want to be done.
Yes.
He was telling me, the guy who ran the full marathon, he was like, yeah, my heart sank a little bit when I saw the half marathon goes this way and the full marathon and I realized I have a whole another half.
I'm only halfway there.
Yeah, a whole another 13 to do. So how is and we've talked about other challenges, right? We're recruiting a team. I'm doing the 29029 Everesting. Or I don't know if biathlon or triathlon or an Ironman's in your future or a full marathon's in your future.
Hope so.
But as you think about challenges, how do you think it applies to taking on challenges in business?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think I'm going to stick with the power of positivity. I know that might not be exactly your answer, but I think being able to come together as people and support one another and really help each other, I think to me that's the biggest takeaway for me.
Well, there's no doubt that positivity is exponentially powerful.
Yes.
I think it goes along with belief.
Yep.
So first of all, you have to believe you can do it. I do think it goes into relationships. You have to have people who are going to be your balcony people, who are
Yeah.
going to support you and encourage you, whether it's before the race or after the race or before the challenge or after the challenge, and then you have to have the vision to set the goal for yourself.
Yeah.
And then I would say you have to have the training and the systems. Like, what are you going to do?
Right.
Because now I know you have not done that, but you've been training. Your body is
Yes.
ready to take on challenges. So you were ready both physically and then mentally. You got yourself ready mentally. And I think
Right.
that's a lot of it. And so as we're talking about taking on challenges, and right now we're in our 40-day climb to the top at Broad River Retail, you have to both kind of believe that you can do it, have that positive spirit that which starts with like gratitude and being a heart of gratitude, and then having the people around you that will both encourage you, pour that belief into you, but also challenge you, like, hey, go optimize your potential. Go
Be
do
1% better.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then put in those standards in place to like, you can do it because you know what you've done previously.
Right.
Right. You're not just waking up and it's not born out of like, it's not decoupled from reality. Like, no, you know what you've done in the past, which gives you the confidence to know that you can do it again. And I think all that kind of plays into it. And then it's like dreaming big, right?
Of course.
So sometimes I think we dream too small.
Mhm.
I think I'm guilty of this a lot. Like I told someone, I was meeting with someone on Friday, and I said, you know what? I think I'm not dreaming big enough. I don't think my goals are big enough.
Do they scare you?
Do my goals scare me?
Yeah.
I think I need to get some that do scare me.
Yeah. They always say if your goals don't scare you, they're not big enough.
Well, and that's why I think I need to kind of get scared enough a little bit more. So, and this here, we got the Chick-fil-A bell. There's a lot of stuff you could grab.
That was in my care package, a Chick-fil-A sandwich from John.
Yeah, so people are ringing the bell. So, anything else about your experience during the half marathon that you'll take with you? So you started from, I'm retired, I can't walk, I'm never doing this again. I did it once. I can say I did it. And now, 72 hours later, maybe 80 hours later, so you're like, oh, I got this. I can do even more than this.
Yeah.
So anything more as you reflect on the half marathon and how it parlays both into your life and in your career and in business?
I think I'm just so overwhelmingly grateful for even having the job and starting with you, 7 months ago. Because if I didn't start that job, I don't think I would be where I am in my fitness career today. I think that you gave me the flame and that ignite that I needed to kind of, because I did, I told you before, I kind of fell off moving down here. It was a few months, so it was hard. So I think being back on track, feeling that feeling again, that keeps me going to where I need to be, to keep pushing for bigger and better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you are also doing some things pre and post race to take care of your body and protect yourself. You're doing like foam rolling and Pilates and yoga. And are there metaphors there to like make sure that you kind of, at times you're in the performance zone. We talked about this, right?
Yes.
And the half marathon you're performing, and then times you're in the learning zone or recovery zone, if you will, and trying to make sure that you can stay healthy for the long term. So talk about how like doing things to take care of your body can maybe be metaphors for what you need to do when you're in the performance zone versus in the learning zone or recovery zone.
So I've actually struggled with the recovery zone. I tend to go a little too hard, and I don't know where to really pump the brakes. So I was in shock after this race. I was kind of expecting to be up, walking around fine. When I say I was bedbound all of Saturday and Sunday, I mean, I was bedbound. So I think it kind of made me take a step back and really realize how important recovery is and the preemptiveness of taking care of your body beforehand. I went out and I did a very short run the morning before, but I think I needed to kind of shock myself to get myself ready for that cold. I started taking pre-workout again that week, which I really hadn't been doing before. So I think being mindful, before and after is very, very important. And again, recovery is just as important as it is when you're in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, and I think like you've got to perform at your best, you've got to take care of your body. You've also got to take care of your mind. So you're feeding your mind with like, inspirational books and music, and stuff that you're reading.
Yeah.
But you're also protecting your body by, doing the Pilates or the yoga or the foam rolling, keeping it in training, not always in zone 4 or 5, sometimes in zone 1 or 2, but then also like the diet, we talked about that. You're also
huge.
You're starting with like maybe some fresh avocado toast or oatmeal or, different things, pre-workout that you talked about, to make sure that the inputs, and I think that correlates to business too. Like, what are you feeding your mind with? What
Right.
what relationships are you feeding your community with?
Right.
And so they say you're most like the 5 people you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
So what books, what knowledge, what podcasts, what diet, what all are you surrounding yourself in your ecosystem? Take stock and do an
Right.
audit of those inputs, because they matter, and they matter to be able to achieve peak performance and get into flow state, if you will.
Yep. So just prime example of that, on mile 6, when I saw the kid with the David Goggins, I shaved 45 seconds off that mile.
Oh, did you really?
Yep.
That's
Just
phenomenal.
because, like you said, I dug deep and I found that motivation.
Yeah.
It's crazy how, certain things can really drive you to that point.
Well, I think if you can do this particular run, well, with limited training,
Yeah.
super cold as it was, and never having done it before, you'll certainly be able to build from here.
Absolutely.
And that gives you the building blocks to kind of take your fitness or your career or whatever your goals you want to set for yourself. You may try to scare yourself a little bit,
Yeah.
and you might bristle from the shock, but it's always that good feeling afterwards, and that's about. There's something to achievement in life, and going after big goals and working hard and working the system to make sure that you go after it and achieve it. So you've always got that you can hang your hat on, but then I'm pretty sure you're not going to just stop there.
No, I will not. Only up from here, Charlie.
That's right.
Yes.
All right. So that is the Broad River represented at the Novant Health Charlotte Marathon with two folks who took we kept it going, and so. Health is wealth, and fitness is important. And also it plays into like taking on big challenges. So next time, I think I want to talk about a challenge and what challenges can mean for a business to kind of spur and catalyze a business to propel and elevate to that next level of success. Thanks, Caitlin, for being a return guest on Stories from the River.
Thank you so much, Charlie.
Thanks for listening to Stories from the River. To check out more episodes, visit storiesfromtheriver.com. Join us again next week. And remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast.